We want to recognize people who champion safety in the workplace. Part of what a safety champion would do is promote safety with their coworkers.
You kept your helmet and your face, you hung up there out of the way.
Yeah.
In neat order. And that way there you wouldn't get no dust or anything in them. That's a real good idea, Nate. I like seeing stuff like that.
They see people taking shortcuts and they know it's only a matter of time till somebody gets bit.
Sometimes you use your gloves and sometimes you didn't. And the part you was handling had very sharp edges on it.
We have to find some way to reinforce people for working safely.
I really love the way you had 2 pallets setting up and you could come straight off the table and just drop them down. You didn't have to move this way or that way.
And we think it's so important that employees be talking to one another about safety just in their normal day-to-day routine.
And you work fast. That's the reason you're sweating now. You're still sweating from how hard you worked a while ago. I know it really was.
So the question I get asked a lot is, how long does it take to see results?
Well, you think you could try bending with your leg instead of bending over with your back?
How long does it take you to get to 0? Traditionally, when a supervisor comes around and asks somebody to wear their glasses, they're going to do it. The problem is that many times they do that because of the implied threat. You do it, I'm going to run you off. That, you know, sort of the status and the authority that's vested in that leadership position. And so our focus many times in traditional safety has been on the exceptions and trying to find the mistakes, trying to catch people who are doing things wrong, where this is more of a process of trying to get people talking to one another about safety all the time.
Well, in the past, it was always hammered on what you've done wrong, never what you were doing right or what they thought you were doing right. So by doing it with a BBS process, it's always based on what you're doing positive to reinforce what you're doing to make you feel better about how you're actually working.
Behavior-based safety, values-based safety in particular, help us create an environment where those dialogues take place and they're more educational versus vested in that authority.
I might not have interacted with Pam on a normal basis until doing these observations, so it gives me kind of a chance to go talk with some of the more experienced operators and get their point of view on some different issues we're having here at the plant.
I don't think traditional safety creates the same kind of engagement. I don't think it gets the employees involved in those solutions, and that's part of the problem. I think without involvement on the part of employees, we tend to prioritize the hazards based on our limited perspective, where I think by engaging the employees, it allows us to prioritize those based on where people have the greatest exposure to risk.
I could have hurt myself, and that made me more aware of what I was doing to make sure I was safe. So I agree with the BBS.
Behavior change takes place for the right reasons rather than because the boss told us to do it.
You're not forcing people to do something. You agree what they're telling you, and you also learn from them.
All of our clients complain about a long history of a program of the month or a flavor of the month. More typically, all organizational change efforts that I've been part of are sort of a process of, 2 steps forward and 1 step back. And the successful processes, in my view, are the ones that kind of keep going down the path, pick themselves up, learn from that step back, and take the next 2 steps, and then there may be another step back. And if you don't have an adaptive process, first time it takes that step back, it dies. If you don't have a group of people that has a lot of pride of ownership, first time it takes that step back, it dies. The other difficulty we see is when companies just sort of identify a dedicated group of observers. While it appears to be more efficient, the problem that it creates is it's almost like an artificial layer in your organization. It creates this us versus them mentality, and it's somehow divisive, or can be divisive in the workplace. It's like having a secret police force almost. So our bias, and it really started a number of years ago, we noticed that people who were participating in the process had fewer injuries than those who didn't. And so we began recommending that everybody get involved in doing observations. One of the other differences between us and some of our competitors is we typically want all levels of management participating in conducting the observations the same as the employees working on the floor. Getting out of the office and going out into the workplace and doing a safety walk around, watching how people are performing their jobs and talking with them about the hazards and the things that they're having to work around. You know, there's some potholes in the road to implementing these kinds of efforts, and some of those aren't just little bumps in the road. Some of those are big enough to drive a truck into and can set you back a ways. And we've steered around those for a while and have pretty good experience in helping companies avoid those and get it right the first time. We also talk about flexible solutions. In some cases, our processes look very, very different depending on the nature of the work and what the client's objectives are. We design an implementation process that fits the unique needs of each customer. I tell companies that our services range from simple front-end training on how to do it yourself through full turnkey implementation with various permutations in between. But our role beyond that is to make sure that the client, that team understands their range of options and what they should consider in selecting each of those options, so that the things such as the frequency of observations, who's participating, where observations are done, the process, the procedure associated with conducting observations, how we're going to collect the data, all of those issues get addressed in the context of that organization and in a way that meets the needs of that organization. One of the things that we pride ourselves on is affordable sustainability. To put a plan together that fits within the client's budget. Probably more importantly than the affordable part of that affordable sustainability statement is the sustainability piece. If you don't have some system to ensure that the observations sustain, eventually people will stop doing them. We have clients who have implemented our process, the values-based safety process, back in the mid-90s, where the process is still in place today. And when you think about organizational change efforts that you've been a part of them, there are damn few that carry on for that period of time, that sustain, 10, 15 years later. And yet we have many, many examples of what would be considered long-lasting intervention. So the question I get asked a lot is, how long does it take to see results? And I think my response to that is usually, how long is it going to take us to get significant involvement on the part of your employees? Many times that's a logistical issue, because our rate of getting employees involved is very closely tied to our rate of getting employees trained in how to do observations in the process. And so that's going to vary. Some organizations can get their entire workforce trained up very quickly. Other organizations are going to spread that training out over 6 months or 12 months. But when you look at the research literature, the thing that's pretty clear is you see you see the results fairly quickly once you get the observations started. And so the question really becomes, what's the quickest way for us to get a significant number of employees trained? Those companies are going to see practically significant reductions in injuries, typically in the neighborhood of 20 to 50%, even more than that in some cases. I think most of our clients select QSE based on a couple of things. One is our track record at creating long-lasting results, and the other is the nature of the personal relationships, just sort of the gut feel they have when they have an opportunity to meet the consultant that'll be working with them.
I mean, they're here to try to help, and they care about your safety. So that's a good thing.
And just through our general conversation and just trying to brainstorm for just a few seconds, we come up with a possible solution.
I think doing the observation is
like family. Everybody watches out for each other, so anything that he can see that I'm doing wrong, he can let me know.